The rain had started without warning, the kind that turned the city streets into mirrors and soaked through clothes in seconds. Arav Malhotra noticed it first because he always noticed things early, shifts in weather, changes in tone, moments before they became problems. It was how he had built his life, anticipating, controlling, staying one step ahead of chaos. He was standing near the tall windows of his apartment, a glass of untouched water in his hand, when the doorbell rang. No one rang his bell unannounced. No one except one person. Arav opened the door to find Anaya Varma standing there, drenched, hair plastered to her cheeks, eyes too bright for someone pretending not to cry. She was clutching a small suitcase with white-knuckled determination, as if letting go would make everything fall apart. For a moment, he forgot how to breathe. "You can say no," she said quickly, before he could speak. "I know it's late. I didn't know where else to go." He stepped aside instantly. "Come in." The warmth of the apartment wrapped around her as she crossed the threshold, and Arav took the suitcase from her without thinking. He noticed everything. The slight tremor in her hands, the exhaustion etched in her posture, the way her shoulders sagged as soon as the door closed behind her. Anaya Varma was not a child. She was 23, intelligent, sharp-witted, and newly hired as a junior consultant at the firm Arav co-owned. She was also the daughter of Rohit Varma, the man who had been his best friend for over 2 decades. And that fact alone should have made this moment simple. "I spoke to your father," Arav said gently, hanging her coat by the door. "He said you might come." She nodded, pressing her lips together. I did not want him to worry more than he already is. Of course she did not. Anaya had always carried herself that way. Quiet strength, fierce independence, even when life was actively breaking her heart. They sat across from each other at the kitchen island, a careful distance between them. Arav made tea, because that was what he did when emotions threatened to rise. He handled things. He fixed them. "You can stay as long as you need," he said, voice calm and steady. "Your father asked me to make sure you were safe, settled, focused on your work." There was the promise, the boundary. Anaya wrapped her hands around the warm mug, staring down into the steam. "I did not plan for my life to fall apart this quickly," she admitted softly. "1 month ago, I thought I had everything figured out." Arav leaned back slightly, giving her space to speak. He had known her since she was 16, back when she had been all stubborn smiles and academic ambition, forever trying to prove she could stand on her own. Somewhere along the way, she had become a woman. He had noticed that too, though he had never allowed himself to think about what it meant. "You did nothing wrong," he said. "Sometimes people fail us. It does not define us." She looked up then, and something in her gaze shifted. Gratitude, perhaps, or relief at being seen without pity. "Thank you," she said, "for not treating me like I am fragile." "I would never," Arav replied automatically. "You are stronger than you realize." The words settled between them, heavier than either expected. Over the next few days, a rhythm formed, careful, controlled, deceptively simple. Mornings began with quiet breakfasts, evenings with shared meals eaten over muted conversations about work, books, or the city. Arav made sure her room was comfortable, stocked with everything she might need. Anaya threw herself into her new role at the firm, arriving early, leaving late, determined to prove she belonged. And she did. Arav watched her from a distance at work, always professional, always measured. He attended her presentations not as a mentor, but as a silent observer. He listened as she spoke with clarity and conviction, her ideas sharp, her confidence growing with every passing day. He told himself his interest was professional. He told himself the tightness in his chest when she laughed had nothing to do with him. One evening, long after dinner, Arav found her curled up on the sofa, reading. The fire cast soft shadows across the room, and she looked up when he entered, smiling without reservation. "You work too much," she said lightly. "So do you," he replied. She shrugged. "I need the distraction." He sat in the armchair opposite her, maintaining the familiar distance. "You do not need to earn your place here, Anaya. Not with me." Her smile faded slightly. "I know, but I want to." That was when he felt it, something dangerous and unwelcome stirring beneath his carefully constructed calm. Admiration slid too easily into something warmer, something he had no right to feel. That night, as he stood in the quiet of his bedroom, Ariv reminded himself of the rules he lived by. Control was safety. Distance was protection. Rohit trusted him. Anaya needed stability, not complication. Whatever this was, it cannot be allowed to grow. The next morning, he became more distant without meaning to. Conversations shortened. Eye contact lingered less. The warmth in his voice cooled into something formal. Anaya noticed immediately. "You are different," she said one evening, standing in the doorway of his study. "Did I do something wrong?" "No," he replied too quickly. "Of course not." She searched his face, confusion flickering across her features. "Then why does it feel like you're pushing me away?" Ariv closed his laptop slowly, choosing his words with care. "I'm simply trying to maintain appropriate boundaries." The word landed like a slap. "I did not realize I'd crossed any," she said quietly. "You have not," he insisted. "This is about me, about responsibility." She nodded once, though hurt crept into her eyes despite her effort to hide it. "Understand." But she did not, and neither, if he was honest, did he. As she walked away, Ariv felt the first crack in his control. He had promised to protect her, and yet something inside him knew the greatest danger she faced was not the world outside. It was what was beginning to grow between them. And once felt, some things could never be unfelt. The distance Ariv created did not bring him the peace he expected. Instead, it sharpened everything. Anaya became quieter around him, more careful. Where she once lingered in shared spaces, she now moved with polite efficiency. As though his apartment were a hotel she did not intend to stay in long. Their conversations narrowed to necessities, schedules, work updates, simple courtesies. The ease they had slipped into vanished, replaced by a tension that neither of them named. At work, however, the distance was impossible to maintain. The project they were assigned to required long hours and close coordination. Late evenings blurred into nights, spreadsheets and reports spread across conference tables, the city lights glowing beyond the glass walls. Ariv kept his tone professional, his posture controlled, but awareness followed him relentlessly. He noticed the way Anaya tucked her hair behind her ear when she concentrated, the way she bit the inside of her cheek when she was thinking through a problem, the quiet confidence with which she defended her ideas. She was no longer rebuilding. She was rising. One night, while past midnight, the office floor had emptied, leaving only the low hum of air conditioning and the distant sound of traffic. Anaya stretched in her chair, rolling her shoulders. "I think that is everything," she said. "Unless you see something I missed." Ariv reviewed the final page, then nodded. "You caught the risk in the second projection. That would have gone unnoticed." She smiled, genuine and a little tired. "I learned from watching you." The words unsettled him more than praise should have. He closed the folder and stood. "You should go home. It has been a long day." "So should you," she replied. They rode the elevator down together in silence, the kind that pressed in rather than relaxed. When they stepped into the parking garage, rain began again, soft at first, then heavier. Anaya hesitated. "I forgot my umbrella." Without thinking, Ariv shrugged out of his jacket and handed it to her. "Take this." She blinked. "You will get soaked." "That is acceptable." Their fingers brushed as she took it, and the contact sent a jolt through him. Brief, electric, impossible to ignore. She felt it too. Her breath caught just slightly. "Thank you," she said, quieter than before. The drive home passed in near silence, but it was not empty. It was full of things unsaid, thoughts circling dangerously close to honesty. Later that night, long after Ariv had retreated to his study under the pretense of work, he heard soft footsteps. Anaya stood in the doorway, arms wrapped around herself. "I cannot sleep," she said. "May I sit for a moment?" He hesitated, then nodded. "Of course." She sat on the edge of the sofa opposite his desk, the lamplight softening her features. For a while, neither spoke. The rain tapped against the windows, steady and intimate. "Did I imagine it?" she asked suddenly. Ariv looked up. "Imagine what?" "That we were Closer before, she said carefully. Before you decided we needed boundaries. The question hung between them, fragile and brave. You did not imagine it, he admitted. Then why does it feel like you regret it? Because I do, he thought. Because I should not want what I want. Instead, he said, because closeness changes things, and some changes cannot be undone. She stood slowly, closing the distance between them until she was only a step away. I'm not afraid of change. I am, he replied honestly. Her gaze searched his face, and in that moment, restraint became a physical effort. He could smell her shampoo, feel the warmth of her presence, sense the unspoken question trembling in the air. Tell me to stop, she said softly. He did not. Time seemed to narrow, the world reducing itself to the space between them. His hand lifted before his mind could intervene, fingers brushing a loose strand of hair from her cheek. The gesture was gentle, almost reverent. Her eyes darkened. Arif, that was when he leaned in. Not fully. Not yet. Just enough to know exactly what it would feel like if he did. Just enough to let her feel it too. Then, with a sharp intake of breath, he pulled back. No, he said, the word tight with effort. He stepped away as though the floor had burned him. This cannot happen. The hurt in her expression was immediate and unguarded. Why, she asked. You felt it too. Yes, he said. That is the problem. She folded her arms, tried to steady herself. Am I doing something wrong? No, he said firmly. You are doing nothing wrong. Then why do I feel like I am being punished for something I did not choose? The question struck deeper than accusation. Arif turned away, jaw clenched. Because I promised your father I would protect you. Because I am responsible for you. Because I cannot afford to forget who I am supposed to be. She stared at him, disbelief giving way to quiet pain. I did not ask you to forget who you are. I asked you to see who I am. He looked back at her then, truly looked, and nearly broke. I see you, he said. That is why I must stop. Silence followed, heavy and final. Anaya nodded once, the movement controlled but brittle. I understand, but her eyes said otherwise. She turned and left the study without another word. A moment later, Arif heard her bedroom door close. He remained where he was long after, hands braced against the desk, heart pounding with the knowledge that he had crossed a line and drawn another all at once. The next morning, Anaya avoided him entirely. And for the first time, Arif understood that restraint could wound just as deeply as desire. Some distances, once created, were far more dangerous than closeness. The shift was subtle at first, almost imperceptible, but Arif felt it the way he felt pressure changes in the air before a storm. Something around them had altered, and it was no longer contained within the walls of his apartment or the quiet moments they shared in passing. The world had begun to notice. At the firm, Anaya's rise did not go unnoticed. Her confidence had sharpened, her voice steadier, her presence harder to ignore. Clients listened when she spoke. Senior associates began to seek her input, and with attention came observation, curious glances, lingering looks, unspoken assumptions. Arif maintained a deliberate distance. In meetings, he addressed her no differently than anyone else. He praised her work only in group settings, never privately. He corrected her when necessary, firmly but fairly. To anyone watching, there was nothing to see. To anyone paying closer attention, there was everything. He caught whispers once, just outside the conference room. Spent a lot of late nights on his projects. Moved cities, and suddenly she is everywhere. Must be nice to have that kind of support. Arif walked past without breaking stride, his expression unreadable. But something cold settled in his chest. Distance, he realized, did not erase suspicion. It invited it. That evening, Anaya stayed late again, finalizing notes for an upcoming client presentation. When she finally left, she noticed the security guard watching her too closely, his gaze lingering longer than professionalism allowed. She brushed it off at first, telling herself she was tired, that nerves were exaggerating everything. By the time she reached the street, the feeling returned. Footsteps echoed behind her, unhurried, measured, matching her pace. She slowed. They slowed. Her heartbeat quickened. Anaya, She turned sharply to see Arv a few steps behind her, coat already on, keys in hand. "You forgot your folder," he said, holding it up. Relief washed over her, leaving her slightly unsteady. "Thank you. I did not realize." His eyes narrowed briefly as he studied her face. "Are you all right?" "Yes," she said, then hesitated. "I think so." He walked her to her car without comment, positioning himself subtly between her and the street. The gesture was instinctive, protective, and impossible to ignore. "I will start leaving earlier," she said, breaking the silence. "It is getting late." "That is wise," he replied. Then, after a pause, "If you ever feel uncomfortable, you tell me." She looked at him then, something conflicted and searching in her expression. "You do not get to protect me only when it suits you." The words landed softly but carried weight. Arv held her gaze. "I protect you always," he said, "even when it costs me." At home, the apartment felt larger, emptier. They moved around each other carefully, like two people sharing space after an argument that had never been resolved. Dinner was quiet, too quiet. Later that night, Arv received a call from Rohit. "How is she?" Rohit asked, his voice warm but edged with concern. "She is doing well," Arv replied. "She is strong, focused. I knew she would be," Rohit said. "Thank you for looking out for her. I do not know what I would do without you." The trust in those words sat heavy on Arv's shoulders. "You never have to worry," he said. After the call ended, he stood in the darkened living room, phone still in his hand, the weight of his silence pressing in. Every instinct in him urged honesty. Every promise demanded restraint. The next day, the firm hosted a formal networking event for key clients and partners. It was not a gala, but it carried the same unspoken rules. Appearances mattered, impressions lingered. Anaya arrived late, wearing a simple, elegant dress that caught the light when she moved. Conversations paused, heads turned. Arv felt it like a physical blow. She looked composed, self-possessed, untouchable. For a moment, she met his eyes across the room. Something passed between them. Recognition, memory, unfinished words. Then she looked away. Throughout the evening, people watched them. Not openly, but enough. A senior partner made a comment about mentorship that lingered too long. A client joked about lucky timing. Arv responded with practiced ease, but his patience wore thin. Near the end of the night, Anaya stepped outside onto the terrace for air. Arv followed a moment later. The city stretched below them, lights shimmering in the dark. She leaned against the railing, arms crossed. "They are talking," she said without turning. "Yes," he replied. "About me," she continued. "About you." "Yes." She finally faced him. "And you think silence will protect us?" "I think silence is the least harmful option." She shook her head. "For whom?" The question hung unanswered. Arv stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Things are becoming visible. That is dangerous." Her expression softened, but there was resolve beneath it. "I will not shrink myself to make others comfortable." "I would never ask you to," he said. "But I will not allow you to be harmed because of me." She studied him for a long moment. "Then stop acting like this is something shameful." Before he could respond, a voice interrupted them. "Am I interrupting?" They turned to see one of the senior partners standing a few feet away, his smile polite, his eyes sharp. "Clients are asking for you," he said to Arv, then glanced at Anaya. "And you, of course. You are becoming quite indispensable." As they returned inside, Arv understood something with chilling clarity. This was no longer just between them. Eyes were watching. Conclusions were forming. Silence was losing its power. And the truth, however carefully guarded, was beginning to press against its confines, demanding to be acknowledged. The consequences arrived quietly, disguised as opportunity. Anaya discovered them waiting on her desk one morning. 2 sealed envelopes, both bearing the firm's insignia. One contained an invitation to join a high-profile task force reporting directly to the executive board. The other was a formal notice requesting her presence at an internal review meeting to address concerns regarding professional boundaries and workplace perception. Her hands trembled slightly as she read the second letter. The language was clinical, carefully neutral, But the implication was unmistakable. Someone had spoken, or several people had. Across the office, Ariv was already aware. He had received a call before sunrise, his name mentioned with caution, his reputation with deliberate politeness. No accusations yet, just questions, just the kind that left marks without ever becoming official. When Anaya stepped into his office later that morning, she closed the door behind her with more force than necessary. "You knew," she said. It was not a question. "Yes," he replied calmly. Too calmly. "I found out early. And you did not tell me? I wanted to understand the scope first." She held up the letter. "They are questioning my integrity, my work, because of rumors. They are questioning optics," Ariv said, "not your competence. That distinction does not protect me." He stood, moving toward her, but stopped short of touching her. "This is why I've been careful." "Careful?" Her voice cracked. "You have been distant, cold. You look at me like I'm a liability." "That is not true." "It feels true," she said quietly. The silence stretched between them, thick with things neither knew how to say without breaking something irreparably. "I will handle this," Ariv said at last. "You should focus on your work. The task force invitation is important. It is visibility at the highest level." She laughed softly, without humor. "They give me a promotion with one hand and threaten me with the other. That is how institutions protect themselves." "And how do you plan to protect me?" she asked. His jaw tightened. "By removing myself from the equation." The words landed like a physical blow. "What does that mean?" "It means," he said carefully, "that I will request a reassignment. I will no longer oversee any division connected to your work. Our professional interactions will be minimal, documented, transparent." Her eyes searched his face, disbelief turning into hurt. "So you erase us?" "I protect you." "By abandoning me?" "No," he said sharply, then softened. "By sacrificing what I want so you do not have to sacrifice who you are." She stepped back, shaking her head. "You do not get to decide that alone." "I do," he said, "because I am the one with power here. And power carries responsibility." She stared at him, realization dawning slowly. "You think you're the problem." "I'm the risk," he replied. That night, they did not speak. Days passed, heavy and strained. Ariv's reassignment was approved with unsettling speed. The internal review concluded with no formal findings, only a recommendation for continued professionalism. Anaya was publicly praised, privately scrutinized. At home, the distance became unbearable. They moved around each other like strangers, polite and restrained. No lingering glances, no share meals, no quiet laughter. The space between them filled with unspoken grief. One evening, Anaya found him standing by the window, city lights reflecting in his eyes. "You are leaving," she said. "I am creating distance," he corrected. "You are pulling away." He did not deny it. "I need you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Not as a mentor, not as a shield, as you." Ariv turned to her then, and for the first time in days, the mask cracked. Pain flickered across his face. "If I stay," he said, "they will destroy you slowly. With doubt, with insinuation. You will always be the woman who—" "I do not care what they say," she said fiercely. "I do," he replied, "because one day when I'm not here, you will still have to live with it." She stepped closer, tears threatening. "Do you think this does not hurt me? Watching you choose fear over us." He closed his eyes. "I am choosing you." "Then look at me," she demanded. He did. God help him, he did. The pull between them was immediate, undeniable. Months of restraint shattered in a single breath. She rose onto her toes, her face inches from his. "Ariv," she whispered, "if you're going to leave, then do not pretend this does not exist." His hand lifted instinctively, fingers brushing her cheek. The touch was electric, dangerous. For a moment, everything narrowed to that space between them. Then he pulled back. The movement was abrupt, almost violent, as if he had torn himself away. "No," he said hoarsely. "I cannot." Her face crumpled. "You were about to, and that is why I must stop," he said. "Because once I cross that line, there is no protecting you from the fallout. Not from them. Not from me." "So, I am collateral damage?" she asked bitterly. "You are the reason," he said, his voice breaking. "And that is precisely why I cannot take what I want." She turned away from him, wrapping her arms around herself. "Then go," she said. "If you're so determined to be noble, then go. But do not expect me to understand it." "I do not expect forgiveness," he said quietly. "Only time." She laughed through tears. "Time does not heal abandonment." He said nothing. There was nothing left that would not make it worse. The next morning, Arav left early. When Anaya awoke, his side of the bed was untouched, cold. On the table lay a single note, written in his careful hand. "I am doing this so you can rise without shadows. Please do not shrink because I chose distance. I will always be near, even when you cannot see me." She crumpled the note in her fist, anger and heartbreak twisting together. At the office, she walked past him without looking. And for the first time since they had found each other in the wreckage of grief and restraint, Anaya understood the true cost of loving a man who believed sacrifice was the highest form of devotion. The city had grown colder, or maybe it was just her perception that had shifted. Anaya had thrown herself into work with a single-minded intensity, determined to prove that she was not defined by whispers or fear. Her task force had achieved early successes, and her name was beginning to circulate for her own merit. Yet every triumph felt hollow without him by her side. She arrived at the office one Monday morning to find Arav already there, standing silently by the floor-to-ceiling windows of the conference room. The light glinted off the city skyline behind him, sharp and unyielding, much like the look on his face. He did not speak. She did not ask. She knew exactly why he had come. "I've been reviewing the progress reports," he said finally, his voice even but carrying that undercurrent of tension she had come to recognize. "You've done well. Remarkably well." Her lips pressed into a thin line. "Thank you." She didn't want praise. She wanted him. But admitting that out loud felt too dangerous. Arav moved closer, each step measured. Anaya, his name was a question, a plea, a confession, all at once. She felt her pulse quicken. "Why are you here?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. "To talk," he said, hands in his pockets, hesitant. "About what happened." Her laugh was sharp, bitter. "There is nothing to talk about. You pulled away. You made your choice. End of story." He shook his head, stepping closer still. "It was never that simple. I don't need explanations," she said. "I need you to choose me. And clearly, you cannot." He closed the final distance, standing so close that she could feel the warmth of him through the fabric of her blouse. "I want to choose you," he admitted, voice low, almost breaking. "Every moment. But the world doesn't make it easy." She swallowed hard, fighting back tears. "Then I guess we will always be trapped by the world." "No," he said firmly. "We'll find a way." It was that certainty, that stubborn refusal to give up, that undid her resolve. She reached up, brushing a stray lock of hair from his forehead. And what if finding a way isn't enough? His hand found hers, the touch electric, grounding her despite herself. "Then I will bear it," he said. "Every accusation, every rumor, every consequence, so that you don't have to." For a moment, she saw the man she had fallen for, the one who had been patient, protective, and impossibly strong. She wanted to throw herself into his arms, to kiss away every hesitation, every doubt. But fear held her back. Fear of exposure, of judgment, of the inevitable complications that followed them like shadows. "I can't," she whispered. "Not yet." "You can," he countered, voice gentle but firm. "I'll wait as long as it takes." She closed her eyes, leaning into the pressure of his hand against hers, the warmth radiating from his body. "I hate waiting," she admitted. "So do I," he said, leaning just close enough that their foreheads nearly touched. "But it's the only way we survive this intact." Days turned into weeks. Every meeting, every interaction, every project was a dance of proximity and restraint. They worked side by side, never touching, never acknowledging the ache that lingered in stolen glances or the weight of unspoken words. Yet, the tension between them was palpable, a constant hum beneath the surface of office life. Then came the evening that changed everything. Anaya had been reviewing a sustainability proposal in the office late, the city lights spilling silver across the floor. Arav entered quietly, closing the door behind him. "You're still here," he said, a statement more than a question. "I had to finish this," she replied, not looking up. "The deadline is tomorrow." He stepped closer, silent now, watching her work with an intensity that made her skin prickle. And after, she finally met his eyes, and the restraint cracked. "After nothing," she said, the words trembling. "Nothing," he echoed, incredulous. "Is that what we call it?" "Yes," she said, voice low, "because every other word is dangerous." He exhaled sharply, stepping right up to her. "So we pretend that what we feel doesn't exist. Pretend it doesn't matter." She couldn't meet his gaze, couldn't bear to. "Pretending keeps us safe." "No," he said, lifting her chin with his hand. "Pretending is what hurts us." The air between them changed. The fear that had always clung to them, that had dictated every action, every pause, every careful step, evaporated in the heat of proximity. Their lips brushed, tentative at first, a gentle acknowledgement of longing. Then, with a quiet intensity born of months of waiting, desire, and unspoken truth, he kissed her fully, long, deep, and claiming. Anaya responded immediately, pressing against him, every touch and caress a release of tension built over endless days. The world outside ceased to exist, the office, the city, the whispers, the rumors. Only this, only them, only now. When they finally pulled apart, breathless and trembling, Ariv held her face in his hands. "You are incredible," he murmured. "More than I deserve." "And you," she said, voice barely a whisper, "are my only reason for being brave." That night, they left the office together, walking through the quiet city streets hand in hand. The distance that had separated them for weeks dissolved with every step. They returned to their apartment, a small space cluttered with evidence of shared life, but untouched by the judgments of the world. And there, finally, they surrendered, not to circumstance, not to fear, not to the shadows that had dogged them, but to each other. They stayed awake late into the night, talking, laughing, holding, proving to themselves that love, carefully nurtured, could survive even the harshest scrutiny. Ariv whispered in the quiet hours, "We have survived everything else. This we can survive too." Anaya nestled against him, tracing the lines of his face with her fingers. "Yes," she whispered, "together." And for the first time since the rumors had begun, since the whispers had threatened to undo them, she believed it. Together, they were unstoppable. Together, they would face the world and win. The morning sun filtered through the curtains, painting the room in soft gold. Anaya stirred, still curled against Ariv, feeling the steady rise and fall of his chest beneath her hand. For the first time in months, she felt safe, completely, unequivocally, utterly safe. The turmoil that had once consumed their lives felt distant now, a shadow that had finally been left behind. Ariv stretched, brushing a strand of hair from her face, his eyes warm with the same intensity she had grown to love. "Morning," he murmured, his voice thick with sleep and tenderness. "Morning," she replied, smiling softly. The apartment was quiet, sun-drenched, and theirs in a way the world could not touch. They had carved out a life that was theirs alone, a life built not just on love, but on resilience, trust, and the courage to face judgment and fear together. They spent the morning moving through the apartment, unpacking boxes and laughing at the chaos they had brought from the move. Every object, every photo, every small corner reflected a shared life. Proof that they had chosen each other over hesitation, over gossip, over fear. The city outside continued, indifferent and vast, but within these walls, it felt like home. Later that afternoon, Ariv suggested they take a walk. They strolled through the nearby park, leaves crunching underfoot, the winter air crisp but not unpleasant. Anaya felt his hand brush hers, and she intertwined her fingers with his without thinking. Each touch was a reminder that they were no longer living in the shadows of suspicion or restraint. They were visible, they were together, and nothing could change that. They reached a small clearing with a view of the city skyline. The wind tugged gently at Anaya's hair as Ariv stopped and turned to her, a small smile playing on his lips. "Do you remember that night in the office?" he asked softly. "The first time we let ourselves feel what we were trying to hide." She laughed quietly, the memory sharp and vivid. "I thought I would lose my mind from wanting you. And yet, I was terrified that moment would be our undoing." He stepped closer, cupping her face in his hands. "It wasn't our undoing. It was the beginning. The night everything changed. I realized then that there was no living fully without you." Her chest tightened with emotion. "And now we live fully," she said, her voice steady but raw with feeling. "We faced everything the world could throw at us, and we're still standing." Ariv's eyes glimmered with pride and love. "Not just standing, we're thriving." The moment stretched, serene and unbroken, before he dropped to one knee in the snow-dusted grass. The world seemed to pause. The wind softened, the city sounds faded, and the universe narrowed to just the two of them. From his pocket, he drew a small, velvet box. Opening it, he revealed a ring, simple, elegant, yet breathtaking in its quiet beauty. "Anaya," he began, voice steady but full of emotion, "you've shown me courage, love, and the meaning of true partnership. I cannot imagine a future without you. Will you marry me? Will you let me spend my life loving you, supporting you, and building everything together?" Tears welled in her eyes as she reached for him. "Yes," she whispered at first, then louder, with all the certainty in her heart. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." He slipped the ring onto her finger, and they stood, holding each other close, the city sprawling below like a witness to their love. They kissed, a kiss that spoke of months of longing, struggle, and triumph, a kiss that promised forever. Later that evening, they returned to the apartment, their laughter echoing through the rooms. Boxes still lay scattered, remnants of a new beginning, but they barely noticed. They moved together through the space, hands entwined, hearts aligned, and a quiet peace settling over them. This was the life they had fought for. No whispers, no judgments, just love. Dinner was simple, a takeaway meal eaten on the floor among the boxes, but it was perfect. Each bite, each laugh, each brush of fingers across the table was a celebration of their victory over fear and uncertainty. They toasted quietly, clinking glasses. "To us," Ariv said. "To us," Anaya echoed, eyes shining. As night fell, they made their way to the bedroom, a sanctuary untouched by the outside world. They stood for a moment, looking at each other, the air between them charged with everything unspoken, everything finally allowed to surface. "I'm ready," she whispered. "So am I," he replied, drawing her close. What followed was not just passion. It was connection, affirmation, and the culmination of months of restraint and longing. They explored each other with reverence and desire, every touch a testament to survival, trust, and the strength of love. Afterward, wrapped in each other's arms, they lay in quiet contentment, the night stretching endless and intimate around them. Anaya traced patterns on Ariv's chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart. "Thank you," she murmured. "For what?" he asked, voice low but tender. "For fighting for us, for believing in us, for never letting go, even when everything else tried to pull us apart." He kissed her forehead, holding her close. "Always. I will never let go. Never. This is home. You are home." And in the soft glow of the city lights streaming through the window, Anaya knew, as did Ariv, that they had finally found it. Not just love, not just happiness, but a life fully claimed together. Whatever challenges awaited, whatever the world tried to impose, they would face it side by side. And that knowledge, the certainty of togetherness, was more powerful than anything else. Their story had begun with hesitation and restraint, endured whispers and judgment, but it ended in clarity, in love, and in surrender. Together, they were unstoppable. Together, they were home. The future stretched before them, bright, terrifying, and full of possibility. And they embraced it, hands entwined, hearts bound, ready for every moment that awaited.